Hey guys, Davasaurus here. So this video is going to be an introduction to Tarkov, aimed for players that have very little Tarkov or shooter experience as a whole. We will go everything after coming up with a name before your first raid. Now that doesn't include you. Don't waste your time, don't waste my time. It's totally cool. Catch you in the next one. So, you've installed Tarkov, started the game, and even chosen a clever name. So now what? So now you have to pick between USEC or Bear. The big question is, what's the difference? So the USEC is, you could easily be thought of as the Americans, or NATO is kind of how I like to refer to them, and the Bears are Ruskis, the Russians. It's not 100%, it's pretty amorphous, but it's, or maybe not the Bears, maybe I'm just full of it. But they're both pretty much, you have Russians and ideally you could say Americans, Russians and not Russians. Pretty simple. The big difference between the two of them is they obviously have different voice lines, so you can use your voice or the in-game voice, so Bear 1 and 2, and USEC 1, 2, and 3. And you can say things in game and people can hear them, what have you. In the future, the USEC will be better with ARs or arm-light rifles, M4s, HKs. You could argue, American style weapons, while the Bears will be better with AKs and the AK platform as a whole. This is a personal opinion as the next one, so I think the USEC have better voice lines because I am a big fan of USEC 3, but the Bears, I would say, have the better clothing options. In the end, it doesn't matter. The only issue is that you can't change it from this point without resetting your entire account, and that resets all of your quest progress and all of that, so it's kind of a big decision, but in the end it really doesn't matter. I myself am going to go with USEC because that's just me. I'm a bit of a loser. Go figure. Alright, so while we're on this screen here, before we go anywhere, Tarkov can be broken down into two different styles of game. One is the meta game and the pew pew game. You can probably guess what the pew pew game is. The meta game is anything that is not looting, shooting, and scooting. And that's actually what we're going to be covering in this video as a whole. The next is the pew pew part of the game. Pew pew lasers is everything that is done either in raid as a scav or on your PMC, which we'll go over what those terms are later. Cool. So after kind of describing what is Tarkov or how Tarkov can be broken down, first thing I want to go over here is actually the character screen. So the character screen is broken up into your gear. This is your base gear for a standard account here. And this is basically on the left here, we have what is on our player in what position. So we have a tactical rig where the tactical rig would go. We have a backpack where the backpack would go. And this is our out of raid stash. So this is all of the crap that we have amassed outside of raids. Now, of course, since this is for starting, this is the introductory gear that is given to us for every single account. The only thing that really varies between the different levels of accounts is how much available stash we have over here. Now, the thing that makes Tarkov special is what this pouch is. So the pouch, and in this specific case, the alpha container, this is something that makes Tarkov special. So we can put stuff into the pouch. As a PMC, we can put stuff in and out of the pouch as the date of that I'm recording this at the very least. And no one, if we die, no one can take what is in our pouch. So you would, in theory, put into your pouch the most expensive things or what you need to accomplish a quest, the most expensive things you found in raid, or the things that you don't want to lose. You don't want to ever lose. The only issue with that is that you can't put guns in there. So if I try to put this pistol, it doesn't go. If I try to put the ammo, it does. Now, if I try to put 1,000 rubles in here, we're good. If I try to put 2,000 rubles in here, it's kind of might be hard for you to read, but you cannot, depending on the type of money you cannot have more than a nominal amount, sorry. And for this instance, it happens to be 175,000 rubles. Now, of course, there's different limits for euros and different limits for USD. I think USD is like 2,500 euros. I actually have no idea. So, going on to health. So the only thing that I really wanted to show here is that your health is broken up. It's not just, you probably can't see the total number. It's not just having, you know, your head and your thorax, but you have a total amount, but that total amount is broken up between your right, your left, all of the different parts of your body that can take damage in Tarkov. So we can stop bleeds on your left, right, on your left arm or right arm, outside of raid as well as in raid. You also can heal up depending on the individual parts. Now, of course, if you right click, you can heal all outside of raid. Otherwise, you'll have to basically bind these items to your inventory. So 4, 5, and 6 respectively. I just pressed the number keys on my keypad to do that if you really cared. So yeah, what you'll notice when fighting is that you'll likely shoot someone's arms since bullets don't properly penetrate body parts very well unless the ammo happens to overpen, and then it will do damage to the thorax. Or if you deplete all of the health in, let's say, an arm, then the damage that's done to that, what's the term is called a blacked arm, will be spread out upon the rest of the body parts that aren't blacked. So moving on to skills. Skills is something that's very interesting and makes Tarkov, another thing that makes Tarkov special is the better you do in a raid, or the more times you focus on leveling a certain skill, the more benefits you get from it. It's not just a base, start at level 1, end at level 70, go have fun, and the level doesn't matter. It really actually does. Not only are there some quests that require strength at level 3 and health at level 10, if we scroll down and we have the sniper skill at level 9, it's not just a blank number, but it does actually provide a benefit. Like strength allows you to jump higher, sprint faster, basically use your melee and hit harder, throw items like throw grenades farther, and then carry more weight. Endurance will allow you to run or sprint for a longer amount of time, and will basically, so you have a maximum amount of stamina for your arms and for your legs in game. And so the higher your endurance is, the less likely or the slower that will decrease based on what you're doing. Stress resistance will decrease the injury or shock when you take a round. Shaking hands if you've got broken arms, things like in game, of course. Some of these actually have a use, while others really don't yet. And of course, by the time this comes out, this is all going to be different because there's going to be a rework for almost every single one of these skills. So who knows if any of this is actually going to be useful come that time. What you notice is we have physical types, so things that help looting like perception, attention, and intellect, charisma, which gets you more money, but then there's also stuff for SMGs as weapon types, or sniper rifles as weapon types, or ARs, HMGs, LMGs, RPGs, and underbarrels don't really matter right now, but they're in. And then there's also kind of mental stuff like aim drills, or let's say recoil control, or search skill, or mag skill. Covert and covert movement. So we have weapon-based ones, we have physical-based ones, and we have kind of an intellect or mental-based ones. The more times you use your melee weapon, the longer or the harder you're going to be able to hit with it. The more you use a sniper rifle, the less the faster you're going to be able to actually discharge or using the cocking handle, remove the spent charge and get a new one in. The faster you're going to reload. Like mags, when you use mag drills, covert movement, the more quiet you'll actually be when crouched and moving slowly. Search skill is the faster you're going to be able to search. never seen aim drills, but it would seem... Oh, that's interesting. Aiming actually acquires, so when you actually ADS, you make noise. But the higher you actually have your aim drills, the quieter that will be. Recoil control is quite literally how much easier you actually control the spray of your weapon. Things of that nature. And then finally, we're actually going to skip map, because map is kind of useless. And then we're going to go on to tasks. So right now, since we literally just started the game, we have no tasks. What tasks are, besides, you know, a honey-do list, they are legitimately quests. The traders give you quests, you go into raid, you hopefully get quest done, you come back, you hand in quest, you get gear, you get rep, you get money. Simple, nothing too crazy complicated. Awesome. So the next menu item we have here is trading. So this is where you can actually interact with the in-game traders. So ideally we have Prapor or Prapor, Therapist, Fence, Skier, Peacekeeper, Mechanic, and Ragman. And then this guy that is locked currently, and his name is Jaeger. Jaeger will be a little bit interesting a little bit later. So Prapor here, what he is good for, or what he's best, how to best remember what he's good for, is Russian weapons. Russian block weapons. He's got AKs, he's got Makarovs, he's got Mosins, and he has Ketters, and he's got PP-19s, PP, and a lot of their accoutrement. Now, Therapist is going to have a lot of your meds and some of your boxes. So ideally, depending on what you're looking for, if you're low on meds, you're going to want to go to Therapist. If you're introductory, you know, you're looking for Russian weapons, you're ideally going to be working with Prapor here. When we have Fence is interesting because Fence is kind of an introduction to a player-led economy. So what players do is they take items that other players don't want. So if I find stuff that no other trader wants, that I don't care about the money and all of that, I can just sell stuff to Fence, because Fence is about the only trader that buys relatively everything, even if the gun doesn't function, as you can clearly see. There's not much to this AKS right here, but he bought it. He'll give you 5 rubles. What's interesting, or the issue with Fence, is that he'll sell you something like this bandage for 520 rubles, but then he'll upcharge. He will actually, you can buy from Fence on a thing called the Flea Market, which we'll go over a little bit later, and he will actually upcharge to match the market. So no matter what you sell to Fence, you're pretty much always taking a loss, is a pretty good rule of thumb. And he'll sell, or he will buy from you super cheap, like a pawn shop actually, and then to buy it back from him, you actually need to buy it at the market rate. All right, after Fence we have Skier. So Skier is, at least at level 1, he's a little bit not much, but he is your first kind of taste at who sells NATO weapons. He kind of sells both. He does a lot of weapon modification. So here we can find lasers. We can find, this is actually a mount ring for a flashlight. He sells a civilian semi-automatic carbine called the ADAR. This is typically a hunting rifle or a single shot or a semi-auto AR-15 with wooden furniture. He also will sell a single shot AK called a Vepr in 7.62, so Russian 7.62. So he's kind of interesting. Typically you'll sell a lot to him because he'll buy stuff that other traders don't buy. Now we have Peacekeeper. So Peacekeeper will sell NATO weapons, and all of his stuff is either a trade-in or it's in dollar dues, depending on who it is that you're looking to buy from. So he's got MP5s, he's got Berettas, he's got P226s, he's got ammo, and he's got NATO grenades and NATO modifications and NATO ammo. Really, for him, NATO stuff. Mechanic is interesting because he will sell weapon modifications and add-ons for both Russian weapons and NATO weapons. So it's similar enough to Skier, but more kind of better stuff. It's kind of how I think of it. As you'll notice, he's got a lot more weapons at the start here, but all of these are trade-in. So if you want a sick MP7, you need a Bitcoin, which is quite rare in the game, at least early game. And then, of course, we have Ragman. So Ragman, or as I politely call him, Raggy. Ragman will sell armor, headphones. Ragman sells rags, basically clothing is really the best way to think about it. Yeah, so you and I, we started the same kind of idea here. You'll have to actually discover a lot of this gray stuff, even though I know that this is a visor. This looks like a visor. The game says you don't know what that is. So what we do is you can either right click on this and go examine, or you can use your middle mouse and you can click on it, and that automatically does that discovering process. Just makes life a little bit easier. You can get a lot of XP from doing this if you really care about it. Awesome. So after Ragman, we're going to go on to Jaeger. So what you'll notice is that this screen looks a little bit different. They've got crowns here. I switched over to my main account so that I can show you Jaeger and then also the flea market and kind of talk about it. At level 1, you cannot hit the flea market, and also at level 1, you likely haven't done the quest to unlock Jaeger, so this kind of makes life a little bit easier. But Jaeger is best thought of for hunting stuff, so he's going to have a lot of bolt action rifles, he's going to have a lot of shotguns, he is going to have a lot of what you would think of as hunting gear. So the Scav vest, you've got a small kind of Kevlar backpack. He's going to have the surgery kit, or the CMS, which allows you to fix blacked arms. So that's the best way to think about it, is he is going to have hunting related weapons and ammo on the beginning, and then towards the end on the higher levels, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, the crown here, he's going to have a lot better stuff. So like this bolt action rifle, this M700, looks pretty effing cool. This shotgun is absolutely obnoxious, but the higher level you get him, the better and the better stuff he's going to have. So with that, and after Jaeger, we're actually going to go on to the flea market. So the flea market is interesting. If you've ever played any MMO, or if you've watched anyone play World of Warcraft ever, this is just like the auction house. So this is a player-driven economy. There's items in the game. People sell items in the game for in-game currency to other players, which is really neat. If you've ever done anything with stocks or stonks, what this means is that the market is very, very volatile. On any given day, any given time, prices for items and things can fluctuate dramatically, especially early in the wipe, or early in the life cycle. For Tarkov, is things that are needed for quests that can be sold will go for crazy prices, but later they'll be really nothing all that expensive at all once they're not in demand. Now also with that is you have very rare things like keys, you have very rare things like certain types of weapons or certain types of ammo or certain types of armor that the player base kind of decides as what's meta or what is in vogue, so to speak. And so what that means is, since it's similar enough to the stock market and there is a community-driven meta and marketplace, you can make money through the flea market by buying things low and selling them high. But of course, it's always a risk. Some things you may buy something and buy a lot of it, and then it turns out to be an absolute farce, and now you're out millions of rubles and you really need the money, and you're going to take a loss. Or you can get really lucky and all of a sudden you're in the jackpot. Or you get lucky and you find some really rare, and then you can demand whatever price you want because you're the only one with it on the market. It's interesting, but kind of a play at your own risk. Now, with that, the question comes, what can be sold on the market? If I just find something, can I sell it? And the answer to that is yes. So there's a term called found in raid. So let me see if I can find that in my current stash of what I have on my guy. So you see this helmet here, this LZSH, it's a level 3 helmet, it's not that bad. But you see this check mark that says item found in raid? That means that I can sell this on the marketplace. As long as you find an item in your inventory or in the game, in the actual rounds of Tarkov, you can sell that on the marketplace and players may or may not buy it. Most things in the game have some sort of market, even if it's a low yield. Or what we can do is you can craft things. So what I mean by crafting things is this super water here there isn't a spawn for it in Tarkov, but I crafted it using my hideout, which we'll go over the hideout very, very soon. And what this means is that if you make it in your hideout, there very likely is some sort of market for it for you to make as much money as possible because you invested little and now you're making much. This purified water, or the super water here, this is necessary to make moonshine. Moonshine is expensive and is required for some really niche, rare trade-ins, and also can be used for what's called the scav case, which we'll go over that later. Awesome. So after the flea market, I did want to show you guys the hideout, or at least talk about it. So on my main character here, my hideout is maxed. I've got everything I could possibly need in here. There's really not much that I am missing here. So as you'll notice, this thing has got a lot of stuff going on. We have, on the left here, we have the physical embodiment of our stash. So we can interact with our stash here. We can take guns off, put guns on. We can go stare at the hot girl in the bathroom. We can then go to a firing range that we actually had to craft, and we can go shoot our favorite gun here. Now, of course, we can go, now the workbench, there's a lot of stuff that we can do here. So it's not just staring at girls in bathrooms and shooting silent guns at a range. It can be, but it's not entirely that. So what I mean when I mentioned earlier about being able to craft things or being able to do certain things. For instance, we have a Bitcoin farm here. What this does is that with 25 GPUs in it, I get 3 Bitcoins, which I can sell for about 116k rubles or so each, and I can sell it. I make a free 500k or 490 odd k rubles once every day, or once every 8 hours and 5 minutes times 3. So yeah, so it's pretty dope. Now I can level it up. So level 1 is 10, level 2 is 25, and level 3 is 50, I believe. What we can do here is we can go to our workbench, and let's say we wanted to make car batteries, or let's say we wanted to make certain types of ammo, rare types of ammo, good types of ammo, like AP 6.3, for instance. Or for anyone that's kind of well versed in Tarkov, we have the 366, which is a hunting round, but this is an armor-piercing version, and it's pretty fucking broken, if I'm being honest. So we can take some of the ammo that we have, and we can craft things. And this is what I mean by crafting things. They're found in raid, technically, and you can sell them because you've crafted it. We can go to the we can go to the laboratory, and we can do certain things. So we can make a magazine case, or we can make a Lucky Scav junk box. We can do certain things here, and we can craft here, and then we can sell it later. Intelligence Center, we can make some really rare stuff, like GPUs, which sell for typically like 250 to 300k. We have this is what the Vertex programmable processor. These are rare, but typically not high value, while we have the VPX, which is typically rare and high value. So it depends on what you got, where you're going, and what you're doing, and you can make a lot of money without really having much of an investment. Same thing with our med station. So instead of buying meds, we can craft meds if we have the parts that we need. Now, of course, this is all maxed out, so you won't have this many options. But yeah, or we could sit down and we can watch the Tarkov trailer on the in-game television, which we can turn off if we really want to. So yeah, what we can do with this is it provides us a lot of, it's basically more of a time sink or a money sink in my personal opinion, but it is still incredibly helpful. Now that's not the only way to interact with it. Now we have this top-down view where we can see, oh, the water collectors. So this is how we make more of our super water. Once we have super water, we can make booze, which from there we can make money off of. If we're hungry, nutrition unit, all of that. So one thing that's important to note, and it's kind of nice I came to the nutrition unit, what you'll notice is that in addition to allowing us to craft things if we have what we need, you see how this has current bonuses? A lot of the things here give us some sort of bonus. So per hour, we are gaining 36 energy per hour, 32 health per hour, hydration regeneration rate, 12 per hour. So if we go back to our character here and I hide my face, you see how my hydration, my health says, you know, it's the up arrow and it's 12.8, water 1.8, energy 1.89. That's where these numbers come from, is health can regenerate does regenerate outside of the game world, but it does it slowly at first. Awesome. So next on the list is going to be this little cogwheel in the bottom right hand corner called settings. Probably pretty self-explanatory, but probably worth also going over for some. The one I want to go over first is called game. So game really doesn't have much of a use, to be quite honest. Really it has, do you want to change your name as long as no one else has it? Of course, my name is super clever, so I'm not going to change mine. We can change our interface language here, so in case you picked the wrong language or language you want to change it to, feel free. Obviously, I only know English because I am an idiot, so we're going to keep mine as English. My preferred voice is USEC 3 because USEC 3 is fucking cool. We can change our background here between factory, which is gray, or woods, which is kind of green and gray. Your real pick there. My only recommendation here is you would, if you're new or if you like to know what you have on your bars and how your health is, you can always show interface elements. That is entirely user preference. Auto RAM cleaner, I do not believe it actually provides any benefit whatsoever, but there's always conflicting reports. I do independent research. And use physical cores, I believe this only helps if you have a Intel-based CPU. For AMD, it is recommended you do not use physical cores. So, likely your FOV is down here at 50. Mine was at 60. So the reason being is that there's some wisdom within the Tarkov community that this FOV is not a vertical like most games, but it is a horizontal. So if you want a 90 FOV like in most modern first-person shooters, I've been recommended 60, and I've been having some decent luck with that. But for the majority of my playtime, I had 75, and the difference is that you feel more sucked in when you're at 60 compared to 75, but you would only notice that if you switched from one to the other. So I'm going to keep mine at 60, to be quite honest, because it's what I'm getting used to again. Head bobbing, you can't get rid of the head bob, but trust me, if it's not nauseating. My recommendation is you turn all the way down head bobbing. You obviously can set yours to whatever you want yours to be. Cool. So moving on from game, we're going to go on to graphics. So this is obviously the one where we make the game look beautiful and play like crap. My recommendation, once again, this works pretty well, but the game does not look as good as it can. It all depends. So obviously, since I'm doing content creation for it, I want to maximize quality for the stream and for YouTube and all of that crap. But if you're not going to do that and you have a good computer, you really, really can start pushing this. I would pick and I would choose what you want to do. I would recommend texture streaming, texture quality to high, shadows at ultra, LOD or level of detail quality. You can push that up, or you can do a lot of things here. Ultimately, it comes down to what looks good for you, what works for you. Now, after graphics, we're going to have post effects. So post effects is something that is very interesting and is best done actually in a raid, whether offline or online, to pick and choose what it can do. I really genuinely recommend this because it kind of makes the colors pop and it makes the game clearer without much of a processing power kind of pull or a hitch. The only thing I would say is that Luma Sharpen and Adaptive Sharpen use more processing power than colorfulness and clarity and saturation and all of that. Of course, if you are colorblind, they do have colorblind modes, which is fantastic. So this is really, really nice, and it can make the game clear or can give it a certain kind of look, kind of up to you. I would recommend post effects of this, to be quite honest. So when it comes to sound, the only thing I really want to go over here, besides the fact that the game is loud and the music's not bad, the only thing I can really say is I recommend you turn on binaural sound. What that means is it's the first part of the Steam audio suite that Escape from Tarkov, or BSG, has implemented. And it's a very good job at giving you height related, or actually separating which channel the sound is in. In Tarkov, there's a big issue with whether someone is above or below in the left channel or right channel, and binaural sound really helps with that. The only issue is that in certain parts of the maps where vertical audio has always been screwy, this kind of makes it worse, but it's something that you'll get used to when playing Tarkov, or you'll stick away from those areas. It's kind of up to you. And then the last for settings I want to go over is going to be controls. So controls is ultimately something that you can absolutely modify to your heart's content. There's a lot of things that you can do, but whenever I create a new account or I recommend to someone as what they do to change it, I would say that you should put discard, which means that it's either deleting something when you're out of the menu, or it's kicking or throwing something onto the ground if you're in raid, throwing something onto the ground. You can do it quickly. Since I have a mouse that has multiple keys, I have bound mine so that I don't have to move my hand at all. I can just mouse over it and I can discard it. Simple, nice, easy. Other than that, really what matters, and the next thing I would change or recommended, that was actually recommended to me, was there's a quick reload button. So there's a reload, and there's a quick reload. So what that means is you can either do a normal reload, or you can like throw your mag on the ground and pull a new one out. The reason why these are separate, and the reason why they both say release, is if you have quick reload set to its default, it should be R plus R, but if you change it to like a different key combination, you actually reload faster, which is dumb. But you reload faster because the system isn't waiting for that second reload to initiate the quick reload. So if you make these two separate, and you actually reload, I think it's about 1/3 of a second faster, which has 1B gunfights. The only reason why I recommend it. And then last but not least, we actually have the coup de grace, the biggest button here that says Escape from Tarkov. It's kind of the elephant in the room. What this means, or clicking on this, actually allows you to pick whether or not you want to play as a Scav or you want to play as a PMC. So the biggest question is, what is a Scav and what is your PMC? So a Scav are the AI locals in the lore, as I push up my glasses with my middle finger here. That's what the AI are when you go around the different maps. They are called scavs. And ideally, they are the locals in the in-game area that were caught up in all of this craziness that's going on with the Terra Labs group, and as their fall, and as this becomes an exclusion zone. You can take hold or basically become a scav on any of these maps. Interchange, customs, factory, shoreline, reserve, woods. Not labs, because labs is different, but labs is special. You can take this loot, all of this, which is randomly generated, helmet, gun, any meds or any additions, whether you have a backpack or not. This is all randomly generated based on a timer. You use your scav and you can extract. You got free stuff. You use your scav and then you die and then you lost nothing, which is kind of nice. Which is completely contrasting to your PMC or your private military contractor. So the PMCs are stuck in this area just like the scavs are, but the PMC is your actual character. You remember when we went back to character and then we were modifying our loadout here. What's on our loadout on our player is what we take in on these raids to interchange and customs and factory and woods and reserve and shoreline and blah 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 blah. Your PMC is the character that you do quests on, is the one that gets XP, is the one that gets better at using AKs and sniper rifles and better at healing and better at being super sneaky quiet like a rat boy. Things like that. So the reason what you may not have noticed is the lab here is no longer locked, and the reason being is that only PMCs can go to the lab. The lab is endgame. So the scavs, or the AI on the map, are super scavs. They've got better gear, better guns, better aim, meds, all of that. So you can't scav in to that map. So the question is, now that you have this free loot, why would you use it? If I can only do quests, or I can do the majority of my quests only on my PMC, why would I waste time using a scav? And the reason being is that the scav doesn't have to be used. It's free gear. You can take it, run out, get out, and you can just sell it. That's what I do most of the time. If it's a gun like an SA-58, I may go chasing players to go get their loot, because this gun shoots pretty big ammo that at all times of the wipe, it's a good bet that you'll at least be able to get someone if you're good. But it's all up to you. Some players don't do scavs ever, and some use scavs on cooldown exclusively. It's the only way that they play. It's all really up to you. It's free stuff. Why not use it? So the next question is, I want to go. I want to learn. Do I scav or do I PMC? And my recommendation is you actually use your PMC, and I would recommend that you would go to either factory or customs. The majority of your quests are going to be on these two maps, especially in the beginning. So the maps that you're going to want to learn, because they're going to be the maps that you're definitely going to be running the most. So you'll notice is that after you specify a map you want to go on, you then have to specify basically a left side or a right side, or day or night for factory. And for all the other maps, they rotate on a 24-hour clock. So on the right side, this is day, and the left side, this is night. The only thing that really matters is it going to be dark Cov or is it going to be day Cov? That's really it. The AI is no different. You may run into more kitted players or different kind of kitted players on night as opposed to day, all depending on the map. My recommendation is you go day and then we go to the next one. This is what's going to be your big friend to learn a map without really losing anything. So what this basically says is that you're going to go offline, and it says enhancing testing capabilities. The beta version of the game will include a special offline mode that allows players to enter the raid completely alone, with or without scavs. This can be used for exploration and testing of the location, weapon adjustment, character testing, and other desired activities if the game servers are busy or currently unavailable. What this means is that we can turn on an offline run, and then we can say, do we want it to be raining? Do we want it to be foggy? Do you want to be like a major storm and you can't hear yourself think? Or if we want to make the system just do a random time, day, night, dawn, dusk, the like. My recommendation is you turn off both of these, because this is quite literally your first raid, and we just turn on PvE. PvE means that there will be scavs. And from there, this is Russian, sometimes it's a bug. This basically just means as online. My recommendation is you just kind of keep this that way, or you make it as online. The only real special thing here is if you turn on PvE, then there will be scavs. And they will be as difficult as they normally are, so you can get used to what a real raid is, or closer to a real raid at the very least. So we can enable bosses, which means if there's a map that has a scav boss, so that is customs, interchange, shoreline, or reserve, those bosses are available. Sorry about that. Scav War means that the scavs will actually be fighting themselves. And then Tagged and Cursed means that the scavs will know exactly where you are, and they will chase, and they will attack you until you die. So we're actually going to forego all of that, because the last thing I want to show you guys is if you don't turn on offline mode, or if you do turn this off or you don't turn it on, you press this next button, you have this next screen where it's called insurance. And how insurance works is very interesting. It's another kind of saving grace of Tarkov. So as you notice, as I click things and or de-click things, this number over here, the total sum to pay, goes up. What that means is that I can pay Prapor, or Therapist a different nominal fee to return this item back to me if I die. If I die or drop it in a raid, I can get it back. But what needs to be said about this is that if another player or a player's scav picks up your items that are in that raid and extract and successfully escape with that or extract from the raid, you do not get it back, you do not get a refund. Now, it's a wise idea as far as I know, as far as I've dealt with it, is I insure everything every time unless we're going to the lab, which insurance doesn't work on. Insure everything, insure all the things, because you'll never know what you're going to get back, and it is nice to get it back in the mail. Now you notice how there's two different people that you can insure things through, Prapor and Therapist respectively, and they have different return rates. So what that means is that Prapor's return rate is about 24 to 36 hours, and then Therapist is about 12 to 24. So once it comes back, you have a few days worth of time to actually accept it back, and then you have to reinsure it the next time. And then from there, you can pay for the insurance, you click next, and then you can go into the map of your choosing. And from here, if you're playing with other players, feel free, invite them, play, have fun. Or if you are doing it all on your lonesome, it'll actually just take you won't have to insure because you don't lose anything in insurance, or you don't have to lose anything offline. You can go and run customs. Cool, so that is everything that you need to know that is not in raid, not armor, not guns, and not ammo. For Escape from Tarkov, if you're literally everything before your first raid ever in Tarkov, that's everything you need to know. The next installment is going to be guns and how to build them, ammo and what's good and what's shit and what's okay, and armor. Armor is a big one, ammo is a big one. These two matter more than anything else in the game. That'll be the next installment. So if you guys like this, please let me know in the comments below. I'd immensely appreciate it. I do plan on kind of doing this kind of welcome to Tarkov, or Tarkov 101 and Tarkov 201 kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys think. You guys can catch me live on Twitch, streaming Escape from Tarkov at the very least, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, about 5 p.m. Eastern to about 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern. Also, you can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at Davasaurus. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.